Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in again today. You are currently watching the Skill Building Sunday Drawing Group here at the Reinventing the Tattoo channel. And it is October 9th at 1 p.m. I am your host, Jason Leeser. And if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chats. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo in many different places, including both app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. You can find us on our YouTube channel or our Roku channel, where we're beaming out 12 to 15 shows at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can also find us at all the major podcast directories, including Apple and Spotify. But no matter where you are watching live or on demand, you can always get the latest and greatest at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can always try it out for free. We've got some sample webinars from the Reinventing the Tattoo canon. We also have some free advice from Guy Aitchison about unique goals and comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. You can also find the entire event schedule with a full weekly and special event live stream calendar. Reinventing 24/7 is much like the Roku channel. It plays 13 channels, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can always throw that on in the front of your studio or put it on to entertain your clients while they're getting tattooed. Reinventing the Tattoo also has a number of professional development courses available from over 20 world-class tattooers. Once again, if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chats. And hey, tag a friend who loves tattoos. Maybe it's a coworker, or maybe it's a cousin or an aunt, someone that's interested in getting tattooed, or maybe it's someone that you know that's interested in becoming a tattoo artist. This is the place to go for that. So please tag them, share the feed, hit that like and subscribe button, and let us know we're doing a good job. We have a number of weekly staple shows we always encourage people to tune into, starting on Sundays at 1 p.m. with me, Jason Leeser. And that's followed on Mondays with a whole host of shows, starting at 9 a.m. with Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. Currently, we've been going over figure drawing as well as light and shadow, contrast, and all different types of subject matter pertaining to drawing. We regularly discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies to help all of us become better artists. Mondays at 11 a.m., we have the Tattoo Weekly Show hosted by Lauren Gregory, Jake Meeks, and Gabe Ripley. Some of those names may sound familiar to some of you. Jake Meeks is the host of the Fireside Tattoo Network. Gabe Ripley runs Tattoo Now. And Lauren Gregory is all over the place working in so many different aspects of the tattoo industry. It's ridiculous. She is definitely an authority on the subject matter. That's followed at 5 p.m. with Let's Talk About Feelings with Robbie Ripple, where we go through and we talk about our feelings and we talk about some of the things that maybe we're anxious about. It's one of the lesser known, but yet one of the most important topics of being a tattoo artist is how to manage our feelings. That's followed at 9 p.m. on Mondays with a subscriber exclusive drawing group hosted by Sandy McAndrew and Guy Aitchison. He does jump in from time to time. And it's great. We go over and we do intensive lectures on different aspects of the Reinventing the Tattoo canon. Really excited to be a part of that. And I will tell you from personal experience, those Monday night classes alone are worth the price. It's completely changed the way that I draw things. It's completely changed the way that I'm looking at things. And you can see a marked difference in the work that I was doing even a year and a half ago compared to what I'm doing today. So that alone is definitely worth it. Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m., we have another live drawing group, the Tuesday Feels Drawing Group with Ricardo Sertivant, a very good friend of mine, incredibly talented artist, one hell of a tattooer as well. I always like to jump in on that one with Ricardo and, say hi and just jump in on topics if need be. Wednesdays at 1 p.m., we have the Tattoo Now show where we go through and we discuss some of the business aspects behind tattooing. Maybe it's marketing strategies, maybe it's branding, maybe it's, how do I go about and set myself up financially or legally to be secure. All of that and more is discussed Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast, hosted by Fawn Baker and Kyle Bernstein. And yeah, that's a great one. I still have to add that one into my own personal lineup of shows that I jump into, if I'm not tattooing at the time. But I would like to go through and take a quick second to thank some of our sponsors and some of the people that help make these shows happen. Starting off with Raw Pigments, an ink company that's tapping into the source, rawpigments.co. These are large flake powder-based pigments that are acrylic-free and vegan-friendly. I can tell you from personal experience, because I've been adding a lot of them into my own lineup, that they will saturate the skin faster than anything you have ever used in your life, which means your tattoos are going to heal better because you only have to go over them once. They're absolutely amazing. Highly recommend Raw Pigments at rawpigments.co. Next, we have worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything up to date as we are living in this post-pandemic world, and we know that things are still getting rescheduled like crazy. The best way to stay up to date on the latest and greatest tattoo event information coming to a city or town near you, or maybe it's coming to a city or town that you want to visit. You can always find the latest event information at worldtattooevents.com. Next, we have D-Lies Pro, also known as Dermalize in the rest of the world due to international copyright laws. Protect your art. If you're still using cling wrap to wrap your tattoos after they're done, it's probably time to step your game up. D-Lies Pro was designed by a wound care specialist, specifically designed to help heal tattoos. Go through, do a quick Google search, read what it's about, take a look at D-Lies Pro. TattooNow.com, technology for tattooers. The leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They are constantly keeping everything upgraded and up to date to stay competitive with any type of CRM or software that's out there. They have leading edge, cutting edge technology that's going to help you reach the clientele that you really want to reach. Take a look and reach out to Tattoo Now. And of course, this wouldn't be Reinventing the Tattoo without a very personal and professional thank you from me to Guy Aitchison, who you can find at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. Go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his DVDs. He has some custom coil machines for sale, as well as original oil paintings and countless prints as well. All available at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to go through and say a very quick thank you and shout out to two of our Reinventing the Tattoo Network affiliates. Starting off with the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. If you know someone that's trying to get an apprenticeship or is wondering what an apprenticeship is like, take a look at the Tattoo Diaries. Great information there for people just getting started. As well, the Fireside Tattoo Network, hosted by Jake Meeks, as I mentioned earlier, where they won't teach you how to tattoo, but they may help you tattoo better. Their philosophy is they're trying to merge the world of fine art and tattooing, and they've got a ton of absolutely wonderful information on that site as well. As always, we always ask that if you do enjoy today's show, please post a positive review and leave a comment on the channel and help us get the word out. Tag some people in some of our past episodes. Invite people to come and watch us live on Sundays. As well, I would like to say a quick mention. Next week, we will be broadcasting live from the Resurrection Island Tattoo Convention in Wheeling, West Virginia. Please stay tuned. We will do some live convention coverage. We're going to be going through, we might do a little bit of live drawing and painting. We'll be if all goes well, we might have some spur of the moment interviews with a couple of big names in the tattoo industry. So stay tuned. Make sure to catch us next Sunday at the Resurrection Island Tattoo Convention. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, or maybe you want to become a sponsor in the Reinventing the Tattoo community, or maybe you're looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, all of this and more is available. All you have to do is email us at management@reinventingthetattoo.com. And we're good.
Well done, Jason. Well done.
Yay! I did it. Yay!
Here I am. Happy Sunday afternoon, Jason.
There you are.
Hey, James.
Happy.
Always good to see you.
Hey. Happy Sunday.
Jason, I'm going to just share this real quick, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all.
This is where we're heading. I will be there. James, if you want to jump on the bandwagon and you have the time, we're heading down on Friday. So we've got a lot of cool artists. I'm really excited to see you, Jason, because a lot of our interaction is over the phone or the computer.
Oh, you just want to hang out with me because I'm a super rad dude.
Guilty.
And because I know how to throw one hell of a party. But that's neither here nor there.
So this is about
strictly professional all the time.
I'm excited because Dennis is a really great guy. I've kind of met him a little bit over through Reinventing, I suppose, and Antoine and some of them. But he puts on the show, and you've spoke so highly of it. I'm excited for the opportunity to be able to go. Hey, Amber.
Yeah, I'm extremely picky with the shows and conventions that I go to and that I look at, and even more picky about the ones that I work. I've run into several encounters and several issues before with different shows at different places where they tend to be very focused on one specific thing, whether it be, photorealism or color realism or geometric work or like heavy black horror work. And that's cool. That's absolutely awesome that, things are getting a little bit more focused now. But if you're a tattoo artist and that's not necessarily the style of work that you really enjoy doing, you might not have a very good time there and you might not come away with a positive experience. I've worked at one or two shows like that where they were very much focused. And, it really wasn't a very good experience because everyone was looking for one specific style of work. It's one of the benefits or advantages, I guess, of maybe some of the larger shows out there. But I find that working at the smaller shows is a far more personal experience. It's a far more social experience. And that's why I was really intrigued with the Resurrection Island show. I heard great things about it. It's small by comparison to some of the bigger shows out there. And it's gotten great reviews from some of the artists that I talked to that have worked at it. They seem to have a great variety of talent there. So that's awesome, which means that they draw in a variety of different people from a variety of different crowds. So that's one of the reasons why I was really, really excited to get the invitation to work at this show. It should
From
be
this man right here, Dennis?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Everything seems to be just catered to the experience, catered to it's not about, I don't know, you can see what motivates Dennis, and he likes bringing people together, and everybody's always smiling. The vibe is great. I'm so excited that this is happening this week.
Yeah, and that's what you want to see at a show too. Happy faces, happy people, right? I'm personally really not. I see a couple people I know in the crowd. Yep. But it's like you want to have a great positive experience, and sometimes you just don't get that if you go to these massive volume shows. So it's always something that I'm always interested in doing, is working at some smaller shows that have a more personal feel. Also, on that topic of working at shows, and I have to quote Yogurt from Spaceballs. merchandising, right? Bring stuff with you for people to buy. Don't just show up and expect people to start throwing money at you. No, bring t-shirts, bring prints. I'm going to be bringing a lot of different prints. So much so that I had to like reconfigure and redesign my booth layout and display. So that
No
was
big deal, right, Jason?
no, not at all.
Extra sleep all week, right?
Oh yeah, I've been sleeping, wonderfully, getting, at least 8 hours a night every night for the past week. Absolutely. For those of you that might not be able to tell, that was extreme sarcasm. I don't think I've slept 20 hours this week, let alone, gotten 8 in any given night. It's a lot of work, but as the old business adage goes, proper preparation prevents poor performance, right? If you prepare well enough in advance, you're set.
They
You don't
say
have anything
chance
to worry
favors
about.
the prepared mind.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's why I do so much prep work. I started prepping for this show in the beginning of September. That's 6 weeks out. Okay. But I'm putting my all into it. Brand new booth layout and design, like all different types of extras and prints. I've booked up a couple of different appointments. So it should be an absolutely awesome time. I've got, plenty of spots open left to do like walk-up stuff, like small little bangers and jammers. And I have got more designs set and ready to go for this show than I think I ever have at any show ever before. So hopefully people come and get tattooed and it's a good time. Hopefully I stay busy, but not too busy that I can't go to the bathroom like I do at Philly. That is
Billy's nuts.
I'm gonna say, one thing, Jason, that you can
Yeah.
maybe talk about too, because I've been doing a lot more work with Gabe, James, you know that, too, and Amber. But like when you do these shows, how important it is to capture that information of people coming up. If you can get their email, that means, and I know it's, an email is what it is, but if you can continue communication with people and you can grab in that information at a show, it's really impactful. So say you have your QR code ready, but you have to have a way that is more than Instagram. It's not you saying, hey, follow me. It's say, hey, sign up if you want to know when I'll be back to Wheeling, West Virginia next. Sign up if you want to see all the great stuff that I came up. Sign up. I have availability this weekend. I'll text you. And so you can automate a lot of that. But when you're going to a show, don't forget that it's not all about what you're doing right there. It's about what you can do. Imagine you want to build clientele in West Virginia. You can't really do that by just showing up. There's a little bit more work that goes into it, but it's super easy. If you're smart, like that chance favors the prepared mind concept, you'll see yourself in a favorable light when you're able to prepare yourself for that type of stuff. And I think everybody here is in the mood to grow.
Oh, absolutely. And especially if people are willing to be patient, patience is a big thing. So if I start advertising like, hey, I've got these great back piece concepts I would really like to start working on. I'm willing to come back every year, once a year for the show to work on you for an extended period of time. You're going to have to be patient, obviously, for that year. But like you could have a steady client lined up that's willing to get like a full back piece. Next thing you know, you're going back, 5-6 years in a row, and you really start to see the progress. Now, that's nice and all, but also let's look at how much progress we can make individually over 5 or 6 years, right? So it's like, okay, well, sometimes that's not always the best bet, but it helps lock in that clientele. Because now you've got someone walking around with a massive back piece, right? That you're doing, and they're like, oh yeah, he works at the show every year. Now you've got all their friends signing up to come over and get tattooed by you as well. Then, demand is there. Next thing you know, you're like, okay, well, I've got so many people that want to get work done. Let me stop out there and do a guest spot, Speaking of guest spots, this is someone I really want to guest spot with. Very good friend, Bruno Salvatierra. Bruno, welcome. You are on mute, by the way, so if you're there, you go.
Yeah, buddy.
Bruno is one of the original 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
That's a compliment, by the way, for people that don't know. Bruno, myself, Ricardo, and Kirsten, we all kind of like formed this tiny little tight knit group about what, a year and a half, 2 years ago? Was
Yeah,
it
it may
something
have
like
already
that?
been 2 years, man. Like time's flown.
Yeah,
We're probably going at
We
least
did it
getting
pretty-
close to that 2 year mark.
yeah, yeah. Now Lauren's quickly moving into the ranks there. She's riding up on her stallion, so
Hey,
she's quickly
Lauren.
becoming one of
Giddy
us.
up, giddy up. I
There you
think that
go.
it was when I started back, like I did some stuff, but when I started specifically with reinventing, it was November 2020-ish, so when the live events started happening again, it was like January 2020 or so.
Yeah.
So about 2 years.
Wow. Yeah.
It would be nice to do a random another Hablemos de Arte one day
Ah,
in
Yeah,
person or something
absolutely.
like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was thinking about going at it again next year.
Yeah, a special edition or something, or that was some of my
Something for
favorite
sure.
content.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad that's how you feel about it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And by early next year, I think I'm gonna kind of like have the time again to put into that, because that was awesome. And I kind of miss it,
well,
Everybody has
Bruno,
their own like show vibe.
if we start coordinating now, we could probably get some plans in place and plans together. Maybe Lauren would like to come down. Maybe we can get James to show up live. Maybe we can, get some things going, and maybe we can do a live broadcast from Prismas Art Studio live.
Absolutely. I'd be honored, man. I would be happy to have all you guys over here. We'll make room.
Well, that's
However
that's
we
what it
have to.
takes.
We'll make
Dude,
everybody fit here.
I'll stop down a month early and help you out with that.
Yeah,
Because
man.
Miami.
Yeah, no, and listen, my apartment is right upstairs from the studio. So, like in whatever way I can help, with that extra space, we'll do whatever we can, to make something special happen for sure. Yeah, you guys are always welcome.
I see
Yeah,
that
in the
intrigued look
background.
on Medusa's face. Medusa's like,
Medusa.
ooh, Miami, can I go?
I'm just hearing Will Smith singing "Welcome to Miami."
So was I. I knew it. You said I knew it as soon as you did that.
Yeah.
My internal jukebox was going.
I'll
There's
make sure
a
to
lot
have
of
that
good
on.
tattooers down there, Bruno. Like I've spent a lot of time, as you know, obviously through Miami and Fort Lauderdale and up. And I mean, it's really impressive tattoo scene, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. There's a lot of really great artists around here. Frank Lanatra's nearby. His wife and Joseph, they're all really good. Stefano's tattoo shop is nearby as well, and there's a bunch of really good artists over there. But in general, yeah, like Miami's got some too. Yeah, it's definitely like Florida, I think, overall. Bart is up in North Florida with
Yep.
Pepper Spicy. They're killing it over there. They got some great artists.
You know whose work in
yeah.
Florida has really been impressing me lately? This one guy, Bruno Salvatierra. Maybe you've heard of him. I mean,
I don't know,
maybe you
man.
have.
I think I've heard. I think they call him Prismas or something, right?
Yeah. Yo, his work is amazing. You have got to check him out if you don't know him already.
I saw some of his stuff. It's pretty fucking sick. Dude, that
Thanks,
guy's
guys.
got some mad skills.
Yo,
Hey, we're
right?
talking about this guy, Bruno. Don't
Like
interrupt.
he has to do like witchcraft or something, cause like cast spells or something, cause like he's on a
Magic.
different level.
I'm
Had
sorry.
a couple shamans swing by. Nah, you
I mean,
guys
that'll do it.
are too kind. You guys are too kind. I appreciate that. Well, you guys are fucking awesome too. James, I've been checking out your classes, badass, and I've been listening in. Amber's always around. That's awesome. Medusa's always around.
I tried. I just
Sometimes
got back
her.
from camping.
Where?
I just got back from camping with the Girl Scouts. I thought I was going to miss today, but I got home in time.
Oh, nice. Camping. That sounds like fun.
But
It's
we
always
had
good to get
fun.
out there.
Yes, we're going back in 2 months.
Nice, nice. No, glad you made it. Yeah, Medusa was doing. I saw you were doing this badass, like drawing of a cartridge. I was like, God damn, that's
Yeah,
badass.
I'll go grab that. It's right
That
here.
was killer. I like how you did a time lapse video of that, or like
Yeah, I
not a time
decided
lapse.
to
I think it
take
was like the
advantage of
process.
the reels. There it is.
Holy
I
shit.
like that too. I saw that and I was very
That's what
impressed.
I said when I saw it.
Can you guys see
Yeah,
it very well?
you gotta check out that reel, Jason. It'll blow your mind, dude. Like the way that she did the little stencil and everything, and how she did it like step by step. Yeah, the reels are a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun with the reels, honestly. You could put a lot of little music on it, create those transitions.
I
It's a
don't
lot of fun.
don't
I
have
actually have
time
a
for
couple
that
of
shit.
reels I'm going to be dropping at Resurrection Island, so stay tuned for those. I've got like custom soundtracks already set up for them.
Ooh.
Like, yeah, I'm pulling
Oh
out all
yeah.
the stops. I've already started doing like audio editing for them and stuff like that. But I figure I'm going to get some good booth content, so that'll be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Good thing I'll be there to capture those moments, Jason, with my camera.
And if I can get the chance to actually get to the store to get one, I want to pick up a new iPhone before I come down so I can shoot in like better quality video instead of like
I have to send you a video about that. I saw a really good video about the 13 compared to the 14 and pros and cons. I'm going to
Pretty
send that to you.
similar.
Well, before you make that purchase.
Okay.
Are you still at the convention, Jason?
No, I'm at home.
Oh
Convention
yeah,
is
yeah.
not until next weekend.
Oh, I thought. Oh, okay. So that was like a little shot from like your place. It kind of looked like you were already at the convention, man. With
No,
all
no,
your
no. I do
stuff.
have my convention banner up behind me, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I like that video you posted. Like you're loaded with stuff, man.
oh, dude,
Like
I am,
amazing
man.
work, dude. Like
I
you've been
did
doing so much work this last year.
I did 2 different 16 by 20 prints I'll have for sale that are convention exclusives. And then I did 4 8 by 10s or 8.5 by 11s. Honestly, I forget how big they are because I'm running off of like no sleep. But they're one or the other, and I've got 4 different images for those. I might make 4 additional prints as well that are all smaller. I have to check my paper stock first and just make sure I can do that, and I've got time to run them, package them, and the whole nine. But I'm going to be showing up with more merch than I have at any other show. So
Do you usually like have somebody help you out with that, like kind of talking to the clients while you tattoo and like sell your prints and things, or you just do it? You just try to.
I usually try to recruit someone to come with me, and it's like, yo,
Right.
listen, I'll tattoo you Sunday. You want to, sell some stuff for me? Awesome. But like, if you're going to do that, I've had bad experiences with people in the past that I've brought down, paid for them to come in, oh, puppy. Sorry, ADD. Oh, so
Puppy,
good
though.
boy.
Sticks out the
I think
chest
there's
and
ways you can
everything.
simplify the process now, obviously 2022, in terms of, money transfers for products if it's not cash.
Yeah, which
But-
is something that I already have set up. I've got my
True.
a big 11 by 14 page set up that says, accepting payment for prints, Venmo, and it's got the QR code. PayPal, it's got the QR code. Apple Pay and all that stuff. So you can send it to me however you want. Just no Cash App. Like that's.
I know that you
Not-
could
not a big
basically,
fan.
through some of the new Tattoo Now software, that he created a code generator, a QR code generator. So say if you have 5 different prints or whatever, and you put 5 different QR codes on like a paper or something, they could scan and pay for that item right there too.
That's cool.
Nice.
That's what I was saying.
The
Like,
only thing is,
you
so
put
I
the-
try to keep one copy that's for display only. And then I keep all of the like actual for sale ones like below the table, like out of reach. So if someone wants this, and usually like the first couple of prints that I do that are kind of fucked up, those are the ones that get put on display. And I always tell people like, listen, the actual prints are way nicer than this. Like, trust me, this is just for display only. So I keep all the good ones like kind of tucked away and hidden. But I always have something out that's for display purposes. I don't really care if it gets destroyed. So it's basically just there to show what the artwork looks like. Doesn't necessarily reflect the image quality or the print quality. It's basically just there to show an example of the work itself. Now, I didn't do that with my smaller prints, but I also put each one of those in like one of those like plastic print bags, the matte bags. So I'm just going to hang one of those up, but those are going to be like scattered throughout and displayed and all that stuff. So, but I've got like this idea in my head of how I want this to kind of look and go. I also need to buy a pumpkin, and candy.
It's funny, Jason.
The mask.
We thought about, I don't know if I was talking to you, Jason, but like a pumpkin part carving contest. I would love to see Guy carve a pumpkin too.
Holy shit.
Oh, wow.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe get
Imagine
Aaron
the
Kane
depth
in
and
there.
detail.
Get Aaron Kane
Love
to
it.
come on and do that. I mean, I'd love to see what he comes up with.
Let's see. Let's
Yes,
toss
sir.
it up to Gabe and see if he wants to do one. We could do it virtual, you know.
I'd be sitting down with like power tools and like Dremels,
I was just about to say, I've got a Dremel. I've used
carbide
it before.
burrs, and the whole nine, man. I'd go nuts.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I bet, tattoo artists get their hand on a pumpkin and they're gonna do something.
Oh yeah,
Interesting.
if you just peel off the outer skin, you get a really nice glow, and then you can carve down into the meat and make
What
the
if-
radiance of light. The
Right.
What if
closer
you
you
actually
get
had a
to the inside,
machine
the
that
lighter
was,
it is.
you used a tattoo machine to carve it, but instead of a cartridge, you had like a little knife.
I
You'd
could
have
make
to
that
kind of-
happen.
Same mechanism, but not.
Huh.
Why not just use an old flat? That was like tattooing with a razor blade anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, just get yourself like a big old 15 flat, man. I mean, that you'll cut someone up with that.
I found something to use my old coils on. I'll use them to carve pumpkins.
Oh
Not a
yeah?
bad idea. I mean, if you
You-
get a big
you've
enough
already
grouping,
done
you
that?
can do it.
Or you thinking
This is
thinking
real,
out
Amber?
loud?
What? I think that's a good idea because coil machines are so hard hitting that would be perfect for carving a pumpkin up.
Yeah, like Jason
We
said,
gotta-
right? Like one of those 15 flats.
We got
Yeah.
a comment from Gabe in the YouTube saying, "Do it. Nothing is stopping you."
Gabe.
Actually, the using tattoo tools to carve a pumpkin would be really good.
I've
Yeah.
used them to do copper plate prints,
Yeah, that sounds like a brilliant. Oh my god.
and you can get some great stipple whip effects with those. I
please,
mean, you just have to have the depth on your needle tips set pretty low, and
Mm.
understand you're going to destroy those needles and like curve
Yeah.
them. Because copper, yes, it's soft. It's a very, very soft metal,
But it's still a
but
mess.
it's metal. There's no getting around it. But you can get some really cool like texture effects if you use a tattoo machine to like do a copper plate print.
Take my advice. If you are going to take a tattoo machine or a Dremel to a pumpkin, put an apron on first. It turns to liquid.
You just ruined it. I was waiting for people to hit us up being like, "Oh, dude, I ruined all of my nice clothes." Like,
No,
It
you didn't.
literally
It's
turns into
pumpkin
pumpkin
spice
pudding.
season. You just got
I
ready.
got bags of pumpkin spice. I mean, how much you want?
The
I'm more of
pumpkins
an
or the
apple
spice?
cider girl.
That's what I need to do.
What is everybody working on today? Sorry, I am late. Did you already go over that? I'm really curious.
So we did touch on the conventions we were working with, merchandising briefly, nothing crazy, obviously, but yeah, so we did touch on some of it. Merchandising is very important.
Yeah. Like
it's-
especially at a convention. I mean, at a studio too, but a convention though, like you might as well really take advantage of that exposure, and,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All those people are basically walking by your portable storefront.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pack it with as much of your art as possible.
Well, it's not just that, but and this is a philosophy that I went over briefly during my fireside interview with Jake Meeks. Um, Prints, especially like artwork and stuff like that, it's a great way for people to walk away with a piece of you if
Exactly.
they can't necessarily afford to get tattooed by you,
Yeah,
right? So
that's a good
having that
point.
option is very critical to like helping you grow your own personal brand.
Totally. No, and like you said, sometimes people are not necessarily ready to spend, hundreds of dollars or whatever it may be, but they love your work and they would love to take like a $50, $100, print back to their home to take a look at and be inspired and the whole thing. And they can afford that, and so
Right.
you want to have that type of options available, and you'll do well. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've started to get some prints for the studio here, from this website called Easy Canvas Prints, and the uh, the prices and quality. The prices are very reasonable, and the quality is really good. And so I bring that here to the shop, to the studio, and sell it at a reasonable price. And it sells really often because it's a manageable number. And so, almost everybody that comes in ends up taking it. And so it adds up. The
Buy
t-shirts
his
too.
prints,
Wow.
Bruno.
I, I'll show you I'll show you the quality here so you can take a little peek, if that's all right.
Absolutely, man. I'm just holding up the print that you sent me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not bad, right?
Dude, these are quality, man. Like good heavyweight frames, good quality canvas.
Like these are
Like they're
I
they're
bet you-
really well done.
Yeah.
Full
and they
gallery
have
wrap too, edges and all.
yeah. So they're pretty much ready to hang because they have that like thick, what you call it?
It's the thick canvas.
The thick canvas, yeah. And so they look good. They're ready to like be hung on the wall without having to spend on a frame. I mean, you make it look even better with a frame, but
Yeah.
it's just an easy option.
The
Mhm.
gallery wrap, when you have all the edges painted as well to continue that image, that's really, really critical.
Yeah.
When it comes down to just like hanging a work of art on the wall, it helps you get away from like, frames and stuff like that. So
Right.
A lot of people like that unframed look.
some people do. I've always been more of a fan of like the big ornate, like elaborate gold leaf gilded
Yes.
gallery
Oh,
frames that
hell
are
yeah.
hand carved and
Those are dope.
yeah, like the old Victorian style frames. That's
I'm a
that I
sucker
love
for
those.
anything antique. So
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Kind of rustic, kind of antique.
yeah.
And I'm into that gold leaf look too for the frames. It looks nice. I mean, it depends on the painting sometimes too.
True.
Sometimes you want to have like a dark, very dark frame, but sometimes those like gold frames can look really nice.
Well, Bruno, if you're ever interested in getting like a canvas framed,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
let me
Yes.
know. Give me a shout, man. I've got a connect for really nice ornate frames
Oh, good to know,
that
man.
are very reasonably priced. And they make nice dark frames too, like black and gold. They do straight black frames that are really nice, but they're all like handmade, super ornate, one at a time kind of frames.
Right.
They're absolutely awesome. So
And then it's
Really,
easy to
I was gonna say, I really agree with you, Bruno, about the frame. It matters like what the content of the work is.
correct.
It's like the frame is an extension of the
sure.
content. And so I think it can be disjunct sometimes. You get this, you see that at the Goodwill. You go to
Yeah.
Goodwill and you look at all of the weird art with weird frames. It's sort of like
My
it's
favorite place to get frames.
it's a good place to get frames, and you can sort of recontextualize that frame for another
Mhm.
work, or like I've definitely done that where I've taken you paint on an old dime store painting. I think it's a contemporary move. I mean, like artists used to do it like for all time because like
Yeah.
materials can be expensive sometimes, so like you'll see Monet's where, they'll take an X-ray of it and he's painted over it like, several times. Van Gogh, same thing. Like he's painted over it like lots of different times because like, it was expensive to buy new canvas or whatever.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's sort of like as tattooers, we do that all the time with cover-ups and stuff. It's kind of the way I like to think of it too, is, like sometimes a cover-up, almost forces you to do something new, or you end up with something that you wouldn't otherwise have ended up with, which is kind of fun. But yeah, I think the frame is it's, if you choose to go with one, it's crucial that it has some, that it's going to speak to the piece whether you like it or not. And if you don't have a frame, that also speaks to the piece as well.
Sure.
So there's
They're
always
extensions, like you said, right? Like they're extensions of the composition itself. Like if you put the wrong color or something, like I remember thinking that scene one and I was like, oh man, like this frame really extended the composition because, like the things that you want to kind of line up for an ideal composition were actually enhanced by the frame, right? Like it was something that added to the overall. So when you do the opposite, it's gonna do the opposite of enhancing the piece, right? It's gonna kind of alter the actual composition, the harmony and the tones, maybe things like that, right?
I agree with you. I think it's important to like think about that. I mean, when it's a consideration that you're making, just like as you're making the work itself. So it certainly isn't. There's an art to it, like in museums and stuff. The curator, oftentimes, you know what I mean. There'll be some expert that like will try to choose, a frame that's like the right. It's the right period. It's the right like. Sometimes there's historical reference there, like like gilding, for example, like gilding a lot of times was sort of was used to cover up how shitty the wood was. The wood that would have been used for the frame itself would have been like covered in wormholes and stuff. So
Naughty pie.
the gilding was there to sort of cover it up. It's almost like that. There's that Japanese technique of like sort of taking a crack in a in a pottery and like gilding it, you know what I mean, like accentuating its imperfection. But if you just lavish gold leaf on top of something, you're kind of you're giving it another layer, you're turning it into something new, I suppose. But yeah, there's probably a lot more room for expression, not to say there's all these rules to it, but Bruno, I think, has got a really great point with it's gonna extend the composition in some way, or it can detract from it too. What's that, Amber?
I with like the certain ones where they're not framed, it kind of ones that extend off the canvas.
Yeah.
And your imagination can keep going because there's not that foreshortening of the frame.
Yes, I think it definitely is it's a move. It's an artistic choice to not have a frame. And so the gallery wrap, Jason was mentioning it, like, so when it goes off the edge, it's almost like the representation never stops. You would imagine that
your
it keeps
imagination
going all the
can
way.
just fill in the rest. If you were to then frame that, your imagination would just stop at the frame.
Right.
Sometimes I think frames are critical, though, especially depending on the medium that it's painted in.
Yeah.
Like I've got a couple of original paintings done by Chris Dunn, and they are edge to edge on very weird, odd shaped pieces of paper. So as much as your eye wants that image to continue and it goes off, when you're dealing with different types of paper, it's kind of hard not to get it framed or at least mounted correctly. You can go with like a frameless frame, like one of those like little clip frames without any kind of backing to it, and that usually looks pretty nice. If you wanted to go with something like that, if it was a more, say, modern type image. If you wanted to go through and like show those as more of a classical work of art, then that's where you run into like okay, what kind of a frame do I want to put this in? How do I want this to be displayed?
Yeah.
There's
And
an
you also have
interesting.
to take into account the environment it's being displayed in.
Correct. Because
I think that's 100% true, because there's an interesting sort of, you know, dialectic between, there's a conversation between,
Mhm.
like, is this a painting? Is this an object? Or is this a magical window through which I see an image?
right.
Because like a frame, historically was like, was meant to sort of, you know, and like encompass this magical representation, like it was a window and through which you could sort of see, like in terms of like it was an icon, you were like looking at God or something like that. If it was in like a church or something, if it was in like the house of royalty or the house of somebody like super important, it was like, is this their, what belongs to them, is this like their, what they're the master over or something like that. So the frame is like this, is a part of the architecture of a room space, so it's meant to sort of like, like be evocative of a window you look through and you see this magical thing, and your eye can go in there, even though it's not physically like somewhere you can go. Your eyeball can, go off and be inside the painting.
Yeah.
But we're talking about like more contemporary paintings with no frame. It's like this is an object rather than a magical space. Right. So the actual painting itself is like this object. I think now we're all so sophisticated that we're kind of like, oh yeah, it's an object. Oh, it's all magical space as well. So I think you can kind of have it both ways too. But I think it's an interesting way to sort of think about it. Like, what is it that, why would we expect older ones to have these frames? A lot of times it's because of that. That's what was part of what was being talked about with these paintings, these images and stuff. Was this, these, it was about power too. A lot of times, you know what I mean? Like having a painting, they're a religious device for most of history, and they're also very much invested in like representing power. So
I
the
think
fact
that's
that we can have these really sort of abstract ones, these really idiosyncratic like artistic expressions, is I think it's it's more equitable in another way. It's sort of it moves back and forth, right? Art moves back and forth between these these two poles about like this collective thing, this individual thing, and I don't know, it's beautiful, and I think that's part of that magic. We see images and we see these paintings with frames or not, and it makes us excited.
Yeah.
Well,
They're exciting.
I think you touched on something very important there, is to take into consideration the historical context. When you look at history and the people that could actually afford to own paintings that weren't, small miniature portraits, for documentation purposes, there were very few people throughout history, except for the uber rich, that could actually afford that stuff. Look at anyone in the Italian Renaissance. Everything there was commissioned by either the church or a very wealthy family. So it did go to show like a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? It did go to represent their status and their power. Thank you. And especially if it was really nice and it was in a really nice frame, then it was just, an exhibition of, I'm this wealthy. Not only can I own a painting that I commissioned from this artist, but I can also put it in this kind of a frame, right? Yeah. But you also touched on another great point, and it's one of the ways that I was always taught to kind of look at art, to look at whatever it is that, you're working on. If you're working on paper, which is my preferred medium, you look at that and immediately what you see is, this is a window. And that's something that was drilled into my head in art school. What you see is a window. in that window, you can create whatever you want because that paper is bound by the dimensions of the piece of paper, right? So the only view that you have into that world is that window, that size, that space, that dimension, right? So everything that you do needs to be within that. Now, one thing I've started to notice a lot of people doing that I'm absolutely blown away by every single time I see it is they start to go with an out of bounds kind of dimensional aspect to it where they will actually paint in a smaller frame inside of this piece of paper that is your window. And they will have different aspects moving forwards and backwards within that space. You know, some parts are obscured, other parts overlap. And that creates an additional dimension where you have something that's not only existing inside this window into this other place, you know, but within that you have another area that's kind of holding this image back in certain parts and allowing this image to come towards the observer, you know, and that kind of stuff I absolutely love. I did a whole series of Onamori Japanese hang tags last year that really kind of played with that aspect where I had like water flowing out from one side and like a fish swimming out of it. And the other one was like a dragon jumping out of another side of one. So anytime that you have those boundaries already committed in a design, to be able to go through and take that and say, we're moving this towards the observer, it's a very easy way to go through and do that. So it's another play on that kind of an aspect. And it's something I've always been fascinated by. So
it's really uncanny, like you said, when it almost feels like the image is coming like out of its space and into our space. You know what I mean? It can be, I mean, it's really can be quite stunningly beautiful, but it's a weird thing too. You know, for a moment, it like kind of tricks you into thinking, you know, just for a moment, but can kind of make you feel, you know, like it's transgressive or something, like it's coming out, you know, it's coming out of its, you know, it's alive or something. I guess, you know, we have a response to it. Like,
Yeah.
When we look at paintings and stuff, it's like we know they're just paintings, but you know, when we're with people, we have this response, you know what I mean, to living presences and stuff. And so it's like works of art, they evoke this living presence response in us that we generally reserve for humans, you know, for other living things, you know. So it's really kind of I don't know, maybe that's a part of where the difference is, you know what I mean, when you can really sort of meditate on a work of art. It's more than decorative, you know, it moves past decoration and becomes something that feels alive to your perception. That's when it's I don't know, that's when it achieves some sort of status as art or something like that. I don't know. I don't want to define art like that. That's not that simple.
That is a very difficult topic.
Yeah.
I spent an entire class, 15 weeks, at a few hours each week, sitting down and debating the merits of what is art. Right?
What'd you come up with?
That isn't. So at the end of the class, we defined art, any type of art, as the product created by an artist, because that was really the only definition we could come up with that agreed to all of the hypothetical situations that we were proposing, right? Because think about this, right? Hypothetically speaking, say you have someone that is able to go through and create an identical copy of a Monet painting using period materials, using period surfaces, period brushes, and they are able to create a legitimate replication or legitimate reproduction of an original painting created by Monet, right? Or Cezanne, or insert famous artist here, right? That requires a large amount of artistic skill to be able to do that using period techniques, period materials, period surfaces. That is no simple feat. There is an art to that. Yet it's a forgery, right? And
Right.
we shun those.
Right. Right.
But that's not really including the amount of artistic skill that's necessary in order to accomplish that. Also, now let's move outside visual arts. Let's look at performing arts, right? Acting is an art. Music is an art, right? At the end of the class, we came up with the definition that there is an art to just about everything. So defining what art is becomes extremely difficult until you break that down into what type of art are we referencing.
Yeah.
If we're referencing visual art, right? Because that tends to be a very, very common topic. If we're referencing visual art, painting, drawing, any type of relief or printmaking, there is an art to that, but what is the intention behind it? And that's where you get a lot of people that sit down and debate and actually sit and read the artist's statement on that work of art. What was the intention behind this? Great, you painted a great picture. Why?
Right.
Sometimes works of art require an explanation. And I may go off on a tangent here, and for those watching, I apologize, but there is an artist that I absolutely despise, and they get paid millions of dollars for their works of art. They have a permanent gallery in the Philadelphia Museum of Art where they have a number of very, very large canvases on display in a permanent gallery all year long. They are never to be taken down. The museum spent, I think it was like $8 million purchasing these works of art, and I'll pull them up, purchasing these works of art from this artist to put on permanent display. And this has always been something that it bothers me to no end. Until you read the artist statement, it's like, why? Let's see if I can pull up some really good examples.
So before we see it, do you still dislike it even with the artist statement, or the artist statement helps you appreciate it more, you think?
So I am of the opinion, because it is a personal opinion, and a lot of this comes down to personal opinion. I am of the opinion, because I have sat and stared at these works of art for hours, for some of them, trying to understand how this artist got paid so much money for these works of art. Okay? And I've read the artist statement, and I can understand the intention and the purpose behind the art. I can understand that. I am of the impression and the opinion that the artist statements were not actually written to show the intention behind why the artist created it, but more or less to explain why he should be paid so much money for these works of art. Okay? I see it as a very large cop-out. And you can ask anyone if we sit down and really debate the merits of artist statements and whatnot. Yes, sometimes it is important to have that. Other times, I just think it's a complete and total bag of horse shit. I do. Because I know people that used to create artist statements after they would sit down and try to figure out the cheapest and easiest way to complete a project in the quickest manner so that they didn't actually have to do anything. And as long as their artist statement sounded legit, they knew that they would get a great grade. So there's tons of artists out there doing that.
Yeah.
But here's one of the works of art that I was referring to.
ever left
Cy
an art
Twombly?
museum?
Yep.
And
Oh God, I love Cy Twombly.
I can't do it. I cannot do it. How? Why?
Oh, I love
Why?
Cy Twombly, but I used to
How
hate
did he
it.
get
I
paid
used to hate it.
millions of dollars for this?
It's brilliant. I don't know. Well, okay.
it's like, okay,
I've seen kindergartners do better than that.
Well, that's a part of it. I mean, it's this sort of, it's there's a childlike sort of innocence to it as well. It is idiosyncratic. It
here's
is
Crayon
expression.
on canvas?
I
I
got
hear you. I think yeah. Art is also supposed to be annoying too. I think it's
Anything that evokes emotion can be considered art, I think.
right. I think it's
But that
doing its
wasn't
job.
but that was not part of the intention behind these pieces.
Sure.
okay, but like if ICP, if Insane Clown Posse can do it,
Don't even get me started
so
on them.
can anybody else.
Do not
Yeah.
get me started
If
on
you
them. Like
can
that is
market
that
garbage
you
and
do not
find
want me
an
to go off on that
audience,
topic right now because
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
not going to go well.
you know what I say? That looks like something that like I could release out of my bowels after a good Mexican burrito or something. But if somebody's gonna pay for it, fucking go for it. Like
Now, I will agree with
each
that
their
statement.
own. You know what? If you can
Yeah.
make money off of it, do it.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure my grandson brought that home last Friday, though.
See? But did he get paid millions of dollars for it? No.
Well, but also, is your grandson like writing up papers telling a bunch of people to spend money on it? No, he didn't put the effort into selling it.
No.
So the artist
So,
is Cy
Probably
Twombly.
could if you put the effort into marketing it.
Maybe.
You can
Like
you
this
can
looks like a
sell
warm-up.
anything. Yep.
Yeah.
Untitled
sell anything.
1970. This
Sure.
looks like a warm-up. Okay. And they probably got paid a ridiculous amount of money for it.
Sure.
Like, and
Sure.
look,
See, this shit pisses
really?
me off too.
Really?
Every time I go
Sorry,
to
gang.
an
Where
art
is the
museum,
artistic
Like-
skill involved in this?
It's like-
every
Somebody
time
got
I leave-
manipulated.
Thank you.
Every time I leave the contemporary section of any art museum, like contemporary abstract stuff, I always leave fuming. But in the end, the thing that I take away from it is, well, you know what? I could do this shit too, and I'm not getting paid. But I also didn't do it and try to sell it to get paid. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
True.
my fault, my bad.
Mm.
I
Well,
mean, I
I
can't
think-
get mad at somebody for
Right. But
just
we also
doing
They
it.
made something out of
we
nothing.
want art to be this about expression too. You know what I mean? It's like how can you have it both ways? Like, there's a we desire it to be this expression, but also like, there's following so many conventions all the time, which I, in my own personal work, it's a big part of what I, adhere to. It's a big part of what I agree with, but also leaving space for this expression. You know what I mean? It's like, and then again, it's like, having disgust as a sort of visceral embodied reaction to to the images that we see. I'm not going to say I think it's like it's an indicator for for yourself. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, it's not that there's something wrong with this work. It's a part of where, it's where we can begin to start to think about like, well, where am I, like uh why do I feel this way about it?
Yes.
And and I think we're talking a lot about money, and money is important and stuff, but it
Mm.
certainly doesn't like,
I think it brings up a
go ahead, Bruno.
like it brings up a feeling of like damn, like I'm working so hard to make things that will potentially have some value, and this guy he's not even trying, and it's like he won the lottery. So
Yeah.
I think that's like where the frustration may come from. Because like literally this guy, maybe he never even intended to like become rich through his art, but he had somebody around that was like, dude, you know what? I have an idea, and he talked to some guy and the guy was naive, or who knows, he was into the paintings, who knows, right? And so they made something happen out of nothing, and so that could be a little frustrating. But I also feel like, you know, that in art, right, like there really shouldn't be any kind of limitations, right? Like art is something that everybody feels, you know, like everybody has their own view on things, and so, you know, there's definitely room for all kinds of things out there. But I can agree that it could be like a little bit of a frustrating feeling when you work so hard, you know, and you put so much energy into like becoming a better artist, and you really have the intention of creating something special, but you know, you seem so far away from that possibility. And then this guy, you know, like had his like grandchildren make some stuff up, and he was like, "Did you guys finish? All right, here, gather it all up. I'm gonna take it to the museum." You know, like, so that could be a little frustrating. I can understand, but yeah, you know, but who knows? There's probably people out there that look at that and they're like, you know what, that's not half bad. You know, like,
Well, I think one way to look at it, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Are you done?
no, not at all, not at all.
Oh, sorry.
Totally done. Mhm.
Oh, okay. I think one way to look at it is, I mean, obviously, we're going to be feeling anger, pain, resentment, a little bit of jealousy. I mean, admit it. We're all a little jealous that somebody's making $8 billion with some
Scribbling on a
Crayola
canvas with some
scribbles, and
Crayolas.
we're not. However, the people that are buying Crayola scribbles aren't my audience.
Yeah.
So
True.
that doesn't apply to me. And I'm trying, and like I
Mhm.
usually get really upset about like things like this, because like, you know, I'm fucking putting so much effort into all of these like ballpoint pen portraits that I'm working on, and not one of them has ever sold. And sure, I'm frustrated that some guy is making billions of dollars on Crayola scribbles, but also he's making billions of dollars, not just on like some Crayola scribbles. He's making billions of dollars having a bunch of artists walk in and feel something and leave with the feeling that they're stuck with, and that they're going to keep bringing up, and they're going to talk about, and that they're going to make an entire YouTube show about that feeling. He just invoked, like, with one of
Mhm.
those warm-up drawings, he just made us all feel something, talk about it, bring up his name, have a whole discussion about
You have
it.
a point.
And now anybody
Mhm.
that's watching this is going to do the same thing. He
Now-
just reached more
now,
people than any of my
Medusa?
portraits have.
That was a
Medusa?
beautiful portrait, by the way, Medusa.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was like.
Very
Mhm.
But
excellent.
if that was the original intention behind the work of art, okay, cool. I can get behind that. Right? If that's what he said in his artist statement about those pieces, all right, I understand that. That makes sense. That's logical. I grasp that. It's meant to invoke emotion in me, right?
It did.
But that's not what those artist statements were about.
So it's the artist
I-
statement that pisses you off.
Yeah, his intention wasn't to invoke emotion in us. His intention was to visually display an emotion that he was feeling from a fictional character in a story.
Sure. I think that like the intention of the artist can have, can have like a lot of importance in a certain respect, but once the artist like puts it into the world, once you
It-
put your,
You
once you
can't
put your
control
baby
what
out there,
happens
right?
to it
And it's,
after that.
yeah, it's like you don't have anything to do with what it means to the other. Like what your work ends up becoming for other people. I mean, like again, it's like a frame, right? It can like contextualize it. It can extend this composition in certain ways. The artist statement can be really, like it can be a part of the work as well. But then, just like you're saying, like now you're taking it, you're contrasting what it says versus what you interpret from it. So again, it's kind of like he can't control what it is for you, and and so on and so forth, and I think that that's a big part of the so like to Medusa's point that how frustrating and stuff that it can be, I think is can be really natural. um, you know uh, again, you can look at like, I you know, of course I met people in art school, you know, that like hated like very like, you know, representational, highly representational art, you know, like they preferred this over, you know, they preferred Cy Twombly and expression, abstract expressionism over the, you know, the highly representational stuff. In a way, it's sort of like, you know, it's a moment in time, right? In that moment in time that it was created, it was a sort of a victory over the old stuff, right? And now, you know, again, sort of the needle always moves back and forth. And so, you know, the way that we appreciate more rendered things, more recognizable objects, you know, like things that can be recognized as, you know, particular things and objects. Perhaps that's what one prefers in a work of art. But it's, you know, like it can become hegemonic. It can become almost pernicious in a certain way. Like, you know, like it has to be this certain level or it's no good. I don't know if anybody here likes Van Gogh's work, you know what I mean? But like if you like Van Gogh, it's like in his time, he was totally unappreciated. And people hated that shit. You know what I mean? Like, and if you look at it, it's like very stylized. It's very like, you know, it's a million little brush strokes all over the place. It's like it resolves into this beautiful thing, I think. But again, it's sort of like it's not very, you know, it's not the highly polished, you know, sort of stuff, neoclassical, you know what I mean?
Now,
Yes.
to throw everyone here for a loop,
Mhm.
my coup de grace. This is an artist that I highly admire for their explanation behind why they created these works of art and for their intention behind it. Certain people have that same kind of emotion that I have to Cy Twombly's work to this person's works of art. And I want to see, wish there was a way I could go through and kind of like hide the upper edge of this. Let me see if I can do.
You want us to guess who it is?
Yes.
Okay. I'll
All
try
right.
not to look at the answer.
I can't do that. That's no good.
I love this game.
Okay. Let's do, maybe this will work. And then I'll just do this. That'll be here. I'll minimize that one. Where is? Okay, there's that. That. And I'll put this on a different, yeah, there we go. Okay. And if you know, don't shout it out right away. But this is one of my most favorite works of art ever.
Ooh, I know.
Its title is called The Fountain.
Is that a sculpture or a painting?
Neither. It's a urinal.
Yeah, totally.
I dig it.
It's an actual legitimate
I
urinal.
like it.
Like fully functional.
It's a ready-made.
Yes.
Yep.
This is one of an artist named Marcel Duchamp. He came up with a whole series of works of art called ready-made art, right? And that was kind of like his interpretation of what modern art should be, right? Where it's not necessarily about what you create. It's about the fact that I am an artist and what I say is art, right? And he entered this into a gallery exhibition in Europe, and I think he like took home some kind of accolade or first place or whatever it was.
That got thrown in the garbage.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that
It
got.
did. They had to retrieve it.
They kicked it out. Yeah, they kicked him out for that.
But that
No
was
one-
his
Not well
concept.
received in its
His
moment.
idea was that I am an artist.
Yeah.
And if I call this art, it is art. And that's the way it was. Right?
Thanks to him, they sold that banana at the Art Basel for $3
That's
million.
That's exactly right.
Another one of his ready-mades.
I think
Bicycle
he-
wheel on a stool.
Yeah. There's one at the Art Institute in Chicago. It's a tie rack.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it is just an old tie rack. But then, I mean, again, you contemplate it as a work of art, and then its placement in the temple of culture that is the museum, and then
So here's where I draw like the difference between the two. There is, in my personal opinion here, there is, even though Marcel Duchamp wasn't the one that created anything here, I believe that he recognized the craftsmanship and the artistic ingenuity within each of these elements, right? Look at the fountain, for example. There was someone that had to go through, that had to create that, had to shape it, had to manufacture it. They had to put their hands on it and mold it to be very specific.
So ergonomical. Someone had to think of that.
Yes,
Someone did,
it's
right?
got form and function.
Okay. So there's
Which is
craftsmanship
artistic.
involved in it. Now, because creating a bicycle wheel, you can't have a lopsided bicycle wheel. It has to be in a circle, right? That requires a level of craftsmanship, right? Creating a stool whose legs were, created on a wood lathe, right? Having a perfectly rounded stool seat. There's craftsmanship involved in that.
Yes.
You put the two together, even though they might not necessarily go together, but there's still craftsmanship involved in each one. There is a level of artistic skill involved in creating those items.
I'm
Okay.
gonna second the fact that tuning a bike wheel is incredibly fucking difficult and takes a lot of skill. So yeah, a bicycle wheel is a work of art.
So that goes back to my original point in one of my concepts, right? To me, I need to see, in order for me to consider something a work of art, it needs to be more than just being able to invoke an emotion. I need to see some type of effort, some type of skill involved in it, something that's beyond what the average person can do. Right? That's something that I look for in a work of art. Someone that sits down and works on a
An
lathe
intention.
to create the perfect stool leg, right? That knows how to bevel each individual ridge exactly right. And they know that because they've done it over and over and over and over again to create that level of craftsmanship and that level of quality. And they've developed the artistic skills necessary to create all manner of things that are outside what the average person would be able to create. That's one of my personal definitions of art. I'm not saying that's
here's
blanket,
where
but
I want to agree. I really want to agree, but I also want to sort of just take it one step further and just sort of say, like, go back to Cy Twombly for a moment and just think, well, or any of us for that matter, right? Like, did we grow the flax to weave the canvas? Did we like sort of go and mine the minerals to grind the pigments to make our paint? Did we like kill the badger to make the brush? You know what I mean? Like, it all is mediated, right? And we're all using these various technologies. So like Marcel Duchamp, he picked a urinal. This is media, and he's like sort of, he wrote on it, so it has this master's touch on it, whatever. Interestingly, I heard that it was actually like it was a woman who came up with that concept, and he just took credit for it. But and which makes sense too, because it's this strange sort of man fixture, the urinal. It's specific to the men's room. You don't have one of those in the women's room. So it's kind of an interesting, it's interesting homage there. But again, I think a part of what we're upset by is, it does come back to money, value, like how things are valued and stuff. And probably, in the high end, in the world of like really high end art, it's just a big scam. You know what I mean? It's just a place to sort of like, to place, capital. So that way it's sort of like it's a tax shelter in certain respects. It's there's other sorts of games that get played with money. Rich people, for a long, long time, if you were to like donate to a museum, there was a lot of deductions you could make on tax returns, for example, or, you know, like there's ways that you can shelter inheritances and stuff by, you know, like putting it in arts, you know, in the works of arts. And so, you know, again, Cy Twombly recognized that this fine paper that he put his Crayolas on, you know, it's not too different from this. I mean, it's different than a urinal, but it's sort of like you were talking about. There's something crafted. It's been appropriated by the artist and sort of represented as a new thing. It's what we sort of put into it when we look at it. And that's where, you know, that's where the magic really happens. That's where we all become sort of like, you know, possessed by the, you know, by the art spirit. You know, genius was sort of historically thought to be, you know, being possessed by the genie, being possessed by a muse, or like, you know, or like some sort of like, you know, you're just a medium through which this sort of, you know, this genius is coming through, right? And
Sometimes it feels like that.
it might be that, I don't know. It's not, but you know, it's like in ancient Greece, like you know, the poet would write the poem, and the rhapsod would like sort of, you know, would speak it to everybody. So it's like, you know, the medium of genius is moving through the poet, and then again, the rhapsod is again another sort of mediation of this, and then the audience becomes sort of possessed by this spirit of, you know, of genius and stuff. So there is this sort of movement of art spirit through, you know, through all of us. It's very interesting, but you know, I think that I just, it's been so fascinating and so wonderful having this conversation, and like, and you know, even my own, you know, preconceptions about art and stuff like that were really challenged today, you know, and I really, you know, I think that's the, to Medusa's point earlier about how like sometimes these things can make us feel stuff. Maybe then that's the thing that,
That's
you know,
the point.
yeah, becomes a big part of the point for sure. But
And you don't get
Jason, thank
to
you so much for
control what your
sharing those
art
artists
makes
with us.
people
It's so
feel.
cool. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I always like to get into this kind of a concept, this kind of a discussion, because it opens up doorways into other things, especially when you really start to sit down and look at what do we define as art in regards to what we do for a living, right? We are tattooers. Is
Yeah.
that a craftsmanship? Is it an art form? You know, are we, I mean, if you wanted to split hairs, you could sit back and say that we are commissioned fine artists, which is a very kind of simple explanation, in my opinion. But there's so much more that goes into it, right? When you look at historically the craftsmanship behind tattooing and what tattooers used to have to do in order to execute any given tattoo, it really starts to ask the question like, what is, you know, is tattooing a form of fine art? You know, and over the years, people have identified it as yes and acknowledged it as yes, it is a form of fine art, which is awesome. And there's been several permanent gallery exhibitions that have been done that have displayed that and illustrated that fact to everyone around the world, acknowledging that yes, this is fine art. You know, so it really starts to bring up other ideas and other questions and other issues, and really helps us identify and circle back to the idea that what we are doing is a form of fine art. We are artists. You know, we put effort into and create living works of art. You know, so that's part of the reason why I enjoy bringing up that topic every now and then. Not too often, because I do get very passionate about the fact that I do not like Cy Twombly as an artist. I've gone on quite extensive rants before about why I just don't like them. a lot of it stems from the fact that I don't think they actually put a whole lot of effort, skill, or craftsmanship into what they created. Like a lot of it was just very emotional and very gestural and very raw. It didn't, to me, it doesn't seem like when you're talking about a work of art that you could compare to something that someone brought home from like pre-K, how is that above and beyond what the average person can do? You know, that's where my mindset goes.
I think a part of it too is that like it takes, I mean, you know, again, um, so, right. If that was, well, what about this? Maybe it takes a certain level of, you know, self-acceptance or a certain level of bravery to sort of put that out there as this is my work. It looks like this. Um, I don't know, you know, again, it's sort of like, you know, that's easier. Maybe it's easier than I'm sort of saying, but I think, you know, we put a lot of skill, a lot of adornment on the things that we're making. So that way it's sort of like, hopefully it gets liked by others. But what if you just put it out there and it's like, you know, it's this totally rudimentary thing and, you know, like, this is it, you know, there's certain boldness to it. You know what I mean? To that
I can see that.
move. That's like, you know, I mean, in this way, it because it goes against every convention that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
That it is bravery in itself. And I get it. It's like, you know, anybody could do it, but not everybody does do it because, you know, like, because it's so easy to make fun of. It's so easy to disparage. You know, it's so easy to say like, you know, like it's nothing in a certain way. But you know, I don't know. I really don't. I know
And
personally.
I'm not trying to like bash
Yeah.
Cy Twombly. I acknowledge the fact that yes,
I
they
think it's
do have quite a few really, really well done works of art. And that's where they get that like that credibility for being a fine artist. And I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
They have created a lot of really talented, really skillful works. Even some of their more expressive stuff, you know, some of their sketches of like color blooms. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Do more of that.
Sure.
But crayon on canvas?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Just like for argument's sake, you know what I mean? That's like I think that's what's so fun about it, and you know, it's that's what's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, that we can still find something interesting. There are all these, you know, millennia of paintings, but there are still interesting paintings out there.
Well,
So
I'm very happy that this topic was actually brought up because it brings me back to one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, and that was intention, right? Intention and purpose behind what it is we create and what it is we draw. You know, like I'm sitting here working on this new watercolor painting, and you know, I'm one of those people, I need to have some kind of reasoning behind why I'm creating this. Otherwise, why am I doing it? Why am I putting the effort and energy into it when I could be doing something else? Right? Sometimes it's exploring the medium. Sometimes it's refining or working on a skill. You know, sometimes it's, you know, there's a different reason behind whatever. Sometimes it's because, oh, well, I've just never painted one of these before, or I've never drawn this before, so I want to draw one of these. Okay, cool. If that's your intention, do it, right? That's fine. But whether we realize it or not, there's almost always an intention behind everything that we create. I think that a lot of times some people have difficulties identifying that, though. You know, and identifying, why am I doing this? You know, and really understanding what's going into the behind the scenes of that.
That's a good point. The more that you know what your intention is, you know, the more clear the vision will be, right? And so that definitely helps in the cause of like transferring what's on your mind into the canvas, right? Like having that intention clear. I don't think that you can, I mean, I'm not saying that it has to be 100% clear, you know, because, you know, it's always nice to leave some room for like some spontaneous things, you know, to come up while you're working on your project and maybe shift direction a little bit. But the intention, right? Like, the more that you understand, I could agree with that. That's interesting. Because
Yeah,
you're the clearer the intention, the more present that you are, you know, and the more present that you are, the better the thing that you're doing is gonna be.
yeah, and the more I find that the more intention that you have when you go into it, the more flexible you can be when things come up, right?
Exactly.
You can say, "Oh, well, this wasn't intended, but you know what? I really like the way that this looks.
Yeah.
Cool, great. Maybe I'll continue to do this. You know, maybe this will become, a branch for whatever style I decide to move in next." Sometimes the intention is to refine a skill and to get better at a certain skill. That's why I join James' class every Monday. I love it. And I
Yeah.
love building my skill level, and it's really, really helpful, because if we don't take a step back every now and then and reevaluate, where are we, what do we need to work on, what do we need to improve upon, we're just going to continue to do the exact same thing every single time. And if we continue to do the same thing every time, how are we progressing as an artist? How are we getting better? How are we identifying a deeper level? So for me, a lot of it is fall back, figure out what it is you need to work on and what it is you need to improve upon. What could you be better at? Identifying that and then moving towards a direction where you can improve upon that. So that's my philosophy, at least.
Yeah, having an intention for your, for your own improvement, having an intention for your own. I guess it's sort of like what I feel like what we've been, almost what we've been talking about is like, we've been talking about art and stuff and then, different medias of art, but like what if your life is a work of art? What if you think about like the intentions of your life and like and the what you end up leaving behind after you're dead?
So legacy,
Of
in
course,
other
yeah.
words.
Mhm.
Legacy can be a work of art.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
takes a lot of skill to craft a legacy that will live on for millennia.
yeah.
So once again,
Years.
artistic skills involved, craftsmanship is involved.
Mhm.
It might not be a traditional like physical object or anything like that, but there is a level of skill and craft involved in creating a legacy, right? It's
Yeah.
something that most people don't really look at as far as, life is concerned, but there's a perfect example. In Philadelphia, we have a private collection called the Barnes Foundation, right? The Barnes Foundation was a guy from Pennsylvania that had a lot of money and collected works of art from all over the world, from Italian Renaissance artists to old Renaissance style sculptures. He's got a couple of more modern things in there. But he went through and in every room in his original art gallery, he curated exactly where every work of art was supposed to go so that there was some kind of a tie-in to everything else. And he was very specific about how he arranged things, where he put things, what distance things were from other things, what was next to one another, what was in a separate room from something else, what rooms were next to each other. And he curated this gorgeous work of art in this building and created a legacy based on that. He might not have painted anything in the gallery. He might not have sculpted any of the sculptures, but through the arrangement and the planning out of his affairs after he passed away, what he wanted to be done with the works of art, he created this legacy that is in and of itself a work of art.
Yeah, project.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the gave birth to this work that's an heir unto itself.
Right.
I
And
love that.
that was his intention behind it, is he wanted to craft a legacy.
Yeah.
He wanted to create this.
It's interesting too, like, as we're makers, right? We're tattooers, we make stuff though too. You make works of art, and it's like, one of my one of my dear drawing teachers, she used to always say, you've got to kill your babies. You've got to kill your babies. So, you have this precious thing that you're lavishing your time over and stuff, and it's like you get done with it, you're like, it's a piece of shit. So you destroy it, right? You throw it away. Why? So that way you can make room for the next one. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a process that you have to go through. And it's sort of like, so you negate this thing, especially you had the best of intentions, and, had all the intention in the world, but didn't work out. So you got to move on. You keep trying, right? You never give up. You keep going, you keep trying. You have to, it's creative process is a destructive one, right? You're always destroying what you did before, sort of make room for the next thing. And so again, I think we come back to this whole, like, building a legacy, or, your life as work of art. It's very traumatic. In real terms, you really get down to it. You really start thinking about it, like, you have to destroy the things in your life, to overcome yourself, letting whoever it is you think you are die, so that way you can, like, overcome it and become, the next, your so you can achieve your final form.
The next
If you
phase. Yeah.
If you like the Dragon Ball Z reference, like,
I picked up on that.
yeah. I've not even achieved my final form. Yeah, you won't until you're dead. Somebody
Yeah.
else is gonna make the call. Somebody else is gonna curate your, what you curated.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Somebody else will have the decisions about, like, contextualizing, framing you up, when you get finally framed up.
Well, as tattoo collectors, we curate our bodies.
True that.
And most of the time, you're curating a collection of art so it can live on forever. We're curating a collection that's going with us.
Yeah. And
It's
sometimes
an
you got to cover
infinite
those up.
art form with a finite lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I love that. Yeah, I love that. It's, we're riding on the surface. Our surface is, it's.
Well, and there's something to be said for the impermanence of tattooing as well. As much as
Yeah.
it is a permanent form of art, it's also impermanent in the fact that when we die, unless we take arrangements to have things preserved,
Mm.
it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
It's not something that is finite. Or it is something that is finite. It's got a lifespan, and that span is as long as the wearer of that tattoo. It's something that's always intrigued me about tattoos and tattooing, is the fact that, they, as much as they last for as long as the person is alive, the vast majority of the time, they don't last after that.
No.
Has anybody here had a tattoo die? Have any of your people that you've done tattoos on have died?
Yes.
One or two.
Yeah. It's a wild thing. Because it's like, it's crazy how connected you get to a client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so connected to them, and so they have your work on them, and then they're dead. They're dead, and they either died, and it's a strange.
They took a piece of you with them to the grave.
I think so. Yeah, it's I don't know how to feel about it totally. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know if I.
Yeah. I know what you
dealt
mean.
with it.
There was a piece that I left that I couldn't get to finish,
Yeah.
And it kind of left me with the feeling like, man, I wish I could have finished that for her, kind of thing. But yeah, there is a special connection though. Like there is something that you feel a little bit more than maybe in other situations, similar situations when someone that has passed. There's a connection there. I think that we, in most cases, like uh in like personally, like with my clients, like there's always a connection that takes place, whether it's a strong one or just a mild one, but nevertheless, it's a connection that you develop with your clients, after tattooing them. And so you kind of like, yeah, there's something about something like that happening that you definitely feel. And yeah, it's different kind of feeling, I guess.
But we're just blessed, I mean, to feel it, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not like I don't know. There's probably other sorts of like probably other sorts of relationships, that like people would have that, it could be similar, but it's there's a uniqueness, I think, to what we do and how we connect with people and like because you put them through hell. You know what I mean? My God, you think about like I was just tattooing some necks last night. I had two necks in a row,
Oh,
and I was just
yeah.
tattooing this neck, and I was like just wiping them, and they were like, "Oh my God, please
You
stop!"
feel bad, but I got to do it right.
I know. I was like, I'm so sorry, but like just take it. I'm like wiping away and being a jerk, and
It's what you got to do sometimes, though.
you got to do it. It was they turned.
Yeah.
I was really proud of them. I think they turned out really beautifully. But at the same time, it was like, got to put these people through hell, and but and then they thank you. If you do a good job, you do you do
Because
them right.
tattoos are cathartic.
Yeah,
You're going through the same pain you do in your everyday life with other things, but instead something beautiful comes out of it.
yeah, it can.
And at the end, something beautiful is coming out of it. So it's
Yeah.
worth the pain.
Well, you hope something beautiful
Yeah.
is
Well,
coming
if
out
you
of it.
have any
Because
faith in
depending
your
on who
art,
you're getting tattooed by,
yeah,
I have seen some scary things.
That's a good one.
So you
I'm not
hope
saying go get
something beautiful
tattooed
is
by your
coming from it.
friend's friend doing it out of their kitchen.
But why? I mean, they said I got a free side of hepatitis. So I mean,
Oh
if it's free, it's for me.
God, yeah. There's a
Not to like throw a wrench into that comment. I mean, I
No,
do agree with you, but it was just the perfect opening for
absolutely.
that kind of
Oh.
a comment.
No, we have a lot of responsibility. There's
We
with
do.
great power
Yeah.
comes great responsibility and all that. You know what I mean? So,
Okay, Peter Parker.
right.
Honestly,
Well, that was Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben
It
said
was.
that.
It
Yeah.
was. It was.
It was Uncle Ben said that.
I used to kind of struggle a little bit with, like how much pain my clients were going through. I would just almost like, feel, not their pain, but I would feel how much pain they were feeling, and that would stress me out and like actually consume some of my energy.
Yeah.
And so over time, I realized
You got to
that,
learn how to
I just,
shield from that.
yeah, absolutely. And the truth is that, we got to do what we got to do, and there really is
Yeah.
nothing that we have to feel sorry about because it's just what it is, and I already know I'm taking all the measures that I can to make it as pleasant as it can be. It is a
Mhm.
tattoo. But like, for example, my apprentice, like one of the things that she keeps doing is like the clients are like, ow, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, so she's getting like distracted by that. And I tell her, listen,
Yeah.
there's nothing that you need to feel sorry about. On your next tattoo, I don't want to hear you say sorry, not even once. I tell her, because I just want her to understand that there's nothing to feel sorry about. Like, it's just
Mhm.
what we got to do. And not only that, but like it consumes our energy that we could be using, to like do a better tattoo. And it's actually really important that we're having fun, when we're tattooing, that we're enjoying ourselves, that because otherwise our energy, won't last us very long, and we need
Yeah.
a lot of
And your
energy to do
enthusiasm for
something.
the project drops.
Absolutely. Yeah. In general, like you got to know how to manage that energy. And one of the things that I needed to do was to really address that. And yeah, like it really saved me a lot of energy, there's things that you don't realize until it's been a certain amount of time, and you kind of reevaluate, right? Like you think about certain things and how you can make an adjustment to make the situation better. And that's what I'm trying to do for my apprentice in this case, trying to savor all that time,
Mm-hmm.
and energy. So that by her understanding that kind of thing, that came with time for me.
It's better than what was drilled into my head when I was going through my second apprenticeship, and that was stop caring.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. That was drilled into my head during my second apprenticeship. They just kept saying, dude, why do you care? They're electing to go through this. This is a voluntary thing they have elected to go through. They knew it was going to hurt. They knew, and they did it anyway. So why does it really matter so much to you?
Yeah, that's what I used to get. It doesn't matter.
And it's
that
like,
is how you care.
yeah,
By
exactly.
not being by sorry, not sorry. That is how you can care. Is by again, Bruno's talking about the energy and sort of like managing that energy, so you can channel it into the most productive ways rather than sort of being so concerned about I guess their journey, because it's their journey. They're going through it, and
Yeah.
you have to do
Right.
your portion.
When my clients start to get a little whiny, I just try to cheerlead them through it. You're all right. You're doing really
Right.
good. You're sitting like a rock. I know you can
Right.
do this. If I'm positive, it gets them more positive.
Oh, see, that's
And it
way better
changes
than
the
what I
vibe.
do. That is way nicer than what I do. I just throw in
What do you
headphones.
do?
I just throw in headphones so I can't hear them anymore.
Oh shit!
I'm a bleeding heart. I feel for everybody.
Sometimes
So
I'll
I
start
gotta
out the
encourage
session
them
by
through.
giving them headphones. And I'm like, here, watch this. Right? And I put them off in their zone and throw on Netflix on my iPad for them. Cool, go watch something. Because if they're distracted, they're not going to complain.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be focused on the pain that they're enduring. I found that very few people have the mental, not capacity, but the mental discipline to sit back and really kind of find their place of Zen,
And zone
to
themselves
zone
out.
out, right? To get into that meditative state, especially if you're working on say a rib panel, right? And you've got a 6-hour session on a rib panel. That's going to suck. I know, I've been through it a couple of times and it sucks. But mentally, if you put yourself in the right spot, you're fine. You won't move. You'll control your breathing. Everything will go just fine. But a lot of times people either don't want to or can't put themselves in that kind of a state to sit still, to put their mind somewhere else and endure it during that period of time. So if that's the case, what I usually end up doing is saying, oh, it hurts. It sucks. Oh, okay. Here, watch Netflix. Trust me, you won't pay attention to it.
Yeah,
You get
give them something
involved in
to
a
distract
movie
them.
where you're really invested in it, you're not going to know anything that's going on around you. And it gives you something to do with your mind during that process, other than focus on how much it sucks. Granted, maybe I'm just a big wuss and think that, getting your side panel sucks. Maybe that's just me. And I have been known to cry when I stub my toe. So it very
Take
well.
my advice. Don't let them watch horror movies while you're tattooing them.
Ones that they've never seen before, I completely agree. But if they've already seen it, they're going to be used to the jump scares. They're going to be
Yeah, I'm
used to
not
all the
talking about that, but
suspense.
I've been wanting to watch this movie. I'll watch it now. No.
Nope. That's a big nope.
Especially if they actually get scared by things. I haven't had a horror movie scare me since I was 10.
I just typically don't end up watching horror, so I don't.
I love horror movies.
That's not my genre. More power to people that enjoy it, but it's just never been something that I really got into. Yeah, it's suspenseful and that's cool, but it's just never been my thing.
When I was a kid, I loved being scared.
Now, I
It was
will
such a
say
thrill
that
to me.
I do get a lot of inspiration from some horror stuff and like horror
Yeah.
imagery, especially like Hellraiser, Aliens,
Yeah.
even though that technically isn't horror, but whatever.
Well,
But some of the
it
darker
straddles the
imagery,
genres of sci-fi and horror.
yeah, there's different stuff there, but like to me, I love the imagery and I love the inspiration that I can get from it. It's just not something that I would watch voluntarily. It's just not my thing.
No,
So glad
distraction
there's
is
a
key,
new
man.
Hellraiser movie coming out.
Oh wow, I
There
didn't
is
see
a new
that.
one coming out. Yes, I haven't. I once again, I since I don't really watch horror, I'm not really like, oh my god, there's a new Hellraiser coming out. You know, so
I'm a little giddy.
like I've heard it's coming out, but that really to me honestly just doesn't do anything for me. So I'm like, oh, cool, another one. How many are they on now? Like 12, 15, something like that.
I've lost count.
So, it is what it is. If that's what you enjoy, by all means, more power to you. But like I said, it's just
Yeah,
not
that's
my
fine.
thing.
Yep. No,
Um,
man. Like, I was getting tattooed at a convention one time, and man, it was freaking hurting. It was my leg, right, my thigh, and and then some buddies came around and we started having a conversation, and I got distracted by the conversation, and like 10 minutes later, I thought to myself, oh, I haven't even thought about the pain in these like last 10 minutes. I didn't feel nothing. I was so distracted in the conversation that obviously it hurts or whatever, but like I realized that day that there was nothing better than just something that can distract the client while they're getting tattooed, which
Oh,
a
yeah.
movie is a really good option. So I definitely go for that, especially when I feel like the client is a little bit of the type that kind of wants to control the situation or like really wants to pay attention to all the little things. That's when I definitely push the movie so they can just relax their mind a little bit and get distracted with something else other than the tattoo, right?
right.
Distraction for sure, like no doubt, but no funny movies
Yeah,
because
Oh, that's the
that's
worst.
another one.
yeah, no funny movies. I've never actually really watched horror. Actually, now that I think about it, for some reason, I'm not into horror because I remember everything. Like, and like I just record everything that I see. I saw House of a Thousand Corpse, and man, I couldn't forget that fucking thing
That
for
was
a
good.
while.
That was
Yeah,
good.
it was good. I agree that it's really good, but it's brutal, and so that kind of thing just stays in my head. So I don't really watch horror too much like that. But I'm more into the sci-fi. I really enjoy sci-fi stuff
Yeah, what
and
I've always
Tarantino
found
movies.
is, and I've
Oh, I
recommended
love
this to people
Tarantino
before.
movies.
Go on Facebook Marketplace, go on Amazon, go on eBay, find a used iPad mini, right? It's like a
Uh
couple
huh.
$100.
Uh huh.
Get yourself a little like extendable iPad holding arm.
Sure.
Keep that at the studio. Throw Netflix on it, throw whatever streaming services you want on it, put it on a separate account, your business account. That way you can write everything off, right? But that then becomes a business expense because you're providing that entertainment for your clients to watch at the studio, right?
Mm.
That is staying at the studio. It is on that account. You are not using it for personal. That is a business expense. And now you can write that off. And your client gets
Right.
something to watch. Boom. There you go. And an iPad mini is all you need. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need to give them a big 13-inch iPad Pro screen, right?
Yeah.
That's overkill, right? Most of the time they're sitting down watching stuff on their phone anyway. It's like, okay, well, your phone screen's far smaller than an iPad mini screen, not by much, but it is. Awesome. Great. Here's a little bit of a bigger screen for you to watch. And I've got one of those like articulated arm, like positioning things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Something laying
if someone's
down,
laying
they
on
can
their back, I'll just extend it up, put it so it's facing completely down. They can watch it while they're laying on the massage table, right, with their head up. If I'm working on their back or something like that, cool. Take it, put it in a case, throw it on the ground, put their face in the face hole, and they can continue watching. Buy a cheap pair of noise canceling headphones on Amazon for like $30. Have that synced up to the iPad mini. Give that to them.
Yep.
You know, that way you're not getting invested into whatever it is they're watching and getting distracted by that.
Yeah.
That's going to help isolate their sound, help them get into the show or the movie that
It's a
they're
good idea.
watching. You know, and it's relatively inexpensive. You can usually get a cheap used iPad mini for like what, $200 plus $30 for headset, $230, and they are in their zone, and you can use that whenever you need to for clients, or hook it up to a Bluetooth speaker. Play some music. Have that as your media center. Here, put on whatever music you like. You know, have Spotify or Pandora or Apple Music or whatever synced up to it. Let them control it. It gives them a sense that they are controlling what's going on, that they have the power of over that environment and that setting and what's going on. It helps them feel a little bit more relaxed, and you get to do what you do. You know,
man.
if
I'm
they
gonna
like
take
to
that
talk,
advice.
well, then they like to talk, and you can't really do much about that. But that's what I usually like to do, man. And some people are like, cool, I can't wait to pick up on the next episode of Cobra Kai because, you know, can't watch it at home. Cool. Here, take the headphones, throw it on, go do your thing. I'll tap you if we're taking a break or, you know, if we're done for the day. And they'll go into their own little world. And next thing you know, it's like, what time is it? Awesome. Cool. This session's done. I've got an hour break to break down, set up, grab something to eat, get ready for the next appointment. You've just sat through a 4-hour session that's 2 movies long. Do it. I used to time my sessions by the number of movies people would watch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how long do you want to sit? 2 movies? Cool. Oh, you want to sit through 3 Lord of the Rings movies? That's like an all-day appointment, man. But yeah, we can do it. You know, and it's like, all right, sit down, let's do the things. And it works really, really well to help everyone stay on task. And the only reason why I bring this up is because I get really, really distracted very easily. So
Yeah, I know the feeling.
it's an issue for me. So I've had to find ways to combat that.
Like
Yeah,
movies that
strange
I've
things
already seen in the
distract.
background is helpful.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
I used to control the playlist of movies that I would have available to make sure that they were only movies I had already seen. Until I decided to just go with the whole streaming service thing, and now I don't exactly do that
Sometimes
quite as
I'll
often.
pretend that I haven't seen the movie for a really long time when I bring it up. But the truth is I just saw it like the day before. Because they're like movies that work for me, you know, like it kind of helps me stay focused in a way. Because you know, I'm listening to the movie, and so but
That's
not
why I like
really.
music playing.
It creates the
Exactly.
white noise.
Yes.
Exactly. The white noise. There you go. That's what it is.
I play music when I read because otherwise I hear every single little noise in the house. But if I play music, I don't hear the music, I just read.
See, if I'm sitting down and I'm reading, I'll actually take a pair of active noise canceling headphones. I won't even put on music. I'll just throw the headphones on and turn noise canceling on. Just helps block everything out. But it also, depending on the type of music that people are listening to, I always recommend any type of music without any lyrics, because lyrics can be very distracting. So I always tell them, put on classical. Trust me, it helps. It does. Put on soundtrack music, you know, from your favorite movie, right? Put on the film score to Alien, or, you know, the film score to Halloween, or Halloween, you know, 37 or whatever.
I think it's like 90 now.
Whatever. I lost track, you know. But it really does help. So give that a shot. And I've actually had people sit down before, and I'm like, oh, it's really starting to get to you. All right, let's try this. I'm going to put you through what I go through when I get tattooed, and you tell me if it helps. And I'll do exactly what I just said, and I'll put on like a very slow meditative soundtrack for them. and or like a YouTube video that's like 4 hours long of like meditation music or whatever.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm tapping them because their session's done for the day, and they're like, "Holy shit, that really helped." It's like, yeah, I know. That's why I
Mhm.
recommended you do that. So there's all
I
types of
love
little tricks
meditation
there.
music.
But I think we are getting ready to be out of time. So I don't know if James is still there. I think he's on the phone, so we'll give him another minute to come back before we
Mhm.
start doing some sign-offs. Bruno, as always, man. Bruno just stepped away for a minute.
Perfect timing.
Never mind.
Right here, buddy.
I was going to say, man, I really appreciate you joining in today, man. Always
My
love having
pleasure,
you on
man.
here. I can't wait to come down and visit.
Me too.
It's going to be an absolute blast. Maybe I'll head down there with Lauren, and we'll get some stuff set up, and
That would
maybe
be
we'll start
awesome,
doing some
dude.
like live broadcasting, maybe some collaborative drawing and painting. Who knows?
That would be amazing, dude. That
Maybe
would
we
be
can
amazing.
kidnap James and bring him with us.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
man.
Want to spend a week in Miami, James?
Yes, please.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right. That'd be amazing.
The
Yeah,
weather's
should
about
do
to
like
get good.
we should do like a reinventing the tattoo studio takeover.
Yeah,
That could be fun.
man. Blend that up in here with everybody. Yeah, dude. That'd be awesome. I'm all about the like painting, art fusions. I absolutely love that. That's like one of my favorite things. And I have a couple buddies that would be down to come, and
Dude, that'd be awesome,
participate.
man.
So yeah, dude, let me know. The weather gets good after November,
Okay.
like real good. That's when the hurricane season's over. And yeah, man. But even if you want to come in November, man, let me know. Like,
I've got a little bit of traveling I
totally
got to
down.
do to the end of the year. I've got Puerto Rico in the very beginning of December, late November, early December. So
All
it's
right.
probably not going to be until like springtime. But
Anytime, bro.
yeah, dude, we'll definitely figure it out, man. But Creatures Cave on YouTube said that they have a music playlist that their clients built. So they usually like to use that, and they'll put
Oh,
that on
nice.
for them. Awesome. Great idea. And they said, thank you for the episode and see everyone tomorrow. Yeah, take care. James, you want to go through and give us a start on sign-offs?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm James Wisdom, and you can catch me on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern, drawing for tattooers. Thank you, Jason, for the show. It really is. It was a pleasure getting a chance to catch up with everybody, and then I just really enjoyed our conversation today. I thought it was
Mhm.
exceptional. Amber, it was a pleasure as always getting a chance to hang out with you. Bruno, thank you
You as
so
well.
much. And God, I really enjoyed watching everybody paint today and just talk art. It was cool hanging out with Medusa too. So anyway, thanks everybody. It really was just amazing experience. So thanks.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
buddy.
Amber, you want to go ahead and give us a quick sign-off?
Sure. I'm Amber Morgaine, and you can find me on Instagram under Amber Morgaine. Thank you very much, Jason, for having this every week. I'm very glad I got home in time to see it.
Oh, you are more than welcome.
I
Thank you for
absolutely
jumping
loved
in
today's
today.
episode.
I'm happy to hear that. Bruno, we'll go through. You're next.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Jason, for hosting this consistently every week, man. It's awesome. Uh, it means a lot what reinventing does for the community with Ricardo's show and your show. So thanks, man. And thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everybody that works hard behind the scenes. And yeah, my name is Bruno Salvatierra. You can find me on Instagram at Prismas_art. And you can check out the studio Instagram, Prismas.tattoo studio as well. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. And can't wait for the next one. Can't wait to join in again and relax and paint a little bit, talk about art. Thank all you guys for being a part of it. Had a lot of fun.
Thanks a lot, Bruno. And I'll go through and spotlight myself. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. If you're still watching, this has been the Skill Building Sunday Drawing Group here at the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. As always, if you enjoyed today's episode, go through, hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube or the podcast. And make sure that you catch us next week for the next episode where we will be live from the Resurrection Island Tattoo Convention. If you want to catch up with us tomorrow morning, I will be jumping into James Wisdom's Drawing for Tattooers at 9 a.m. Mondays Eastern Time. Should be a great time, as it always is. And thank you everyone once again for jumping in. You can always find me on Instagram at Philly Inc. PhillYink on Instagram. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And as always, keep those hands moving. And yeah, I'll catch everyone.